Hi everyone, welcome back. Thanks for joining us today. We've got a brand new story to share with you. So let's begin. My name is Bruce, and if there's one thing I've learned in life, it's that the little things can build up over time. People say words don't hurt, and that jokes are just jokes, but I don't think that's true. The way we talk to the people we love matters. I didn't always think this way. I used to laugh along and brush things off. But sometimes, a joke isn't just a joke. It can be a sign of something deeper. And for me, one seemingly harmless joke from my wife, Amber, was the moment everything changed. Amber and I have been together for years, and I never imagined that something so small could shake our marriage the way it did. It was a pattern, a habit, something that had been happening for a long time without me fully understanding how much it was affecting me. Looking back, I can see all the moments that led up to that breaking point. I can see the little things I ignored, the things I let slide because I didn't want to seem weak or difficult. But when something hurts, pretending it doesn't won't make it go away. And eventually, I couldn't pretend anymore. I've been married to my wife, Amber, for 5 years. Before we got married, we sat down like any responsible couple and had a real conversation about what we wanted our life to look like. We both agreed that I would focus on work and providing for the family, while Amber would take care of the home and, eventually, our kids. We both genuinely felt it made sense. I had a stable corporate job that demanded long hours, and she always wanted to be a hands-on mom, so it seemed like a win-win. At first, everything worked smoothly. My job wasn't just a 9 to 5, it was more like an 8 to whenever my boss stopped calling. I dealt with clients who expected the impossible and deadlines and didn't care if I had eaten or slept. Some days, I'd come home completely drained, barely able to hold a conversation, let alone help around the house. But in my mind, that was the trade-off. I was bringing in the money, making sure we had a roof over our heads and food on the table. In return, Amber took care of the home front. Amber had her hands full, too. Running a household and raising 2 kids wasn't easy, and I respected that. She managed everything: cooking, cleaning, school drop-offs, doctor's appointments, you name it. Our kids were happy and well taken care of, and that mattered to me. But somewhere along the way, she developed this habit of making fun of how I handled things with the kids. It started small. If I put a diaper on the wrong way or gave them snacks right before dinner, she'd laugh and say, "Oh, Bruce, you're so clueless." I didn't mind at first. I even laughed along. But then, the jokes kept coming. Whenever I messed something up, even small things like forgetting which bottle was for milk and which was for juice, she'd shake her head and say, "You're the fun dad, but let's be honest, you're kinda useless." I figured it was harmless. I mean, I didn't grow up changing diapers or knowing the difference between baby shampoo and regular shampoo. It wasn't my world, and I was still learning. But as time went on, I started noticing a pattern. It wasn't just an occasional joke between us anymore. Amber seemed to use me as a source of entertainment whenever we had people over. Every time we had friends visiting or her parents stopped by, there it was again, another story about how I had no idea what I was doing with the kids. People would laugh, and at first, I laughed too. But then, I started realizing that these stories weren't just staying within the walls of our home. Friends and family started repeating the jokes back to me. Her mom chuckled one day and said, "Bruce, I heard you're completely hopeless when it comes to bath time." A friend of ours jokingly asked, "So, have you finally figured out how to dress a toddler, or do you still need Amber supervision?" Every time I heard it, something inside me twisted. It was one thing for Amber to tease me in private, but now it felt like everyone saw me the same way, like I was some clueless dad who couldn't handle his own kids. I didn't say anything, though. But deep down I started to wonder, if everyone keeps hearing the same thing about me, at what point does it stop being a joke and start becoming what people actually believe? One evening, by the time I pulled into the driveway, I felt like my entire body was running on fumes. It had been one of those days, back-to-back meetings, impossible deadlines, and a client who seemed determined to make my life miserable. The only thing getting me through was the thought of stepping into my house, changing into something comfortable, and unwinding with my wife and kids. I walked through the door, loosened my tie, and immediately heard voices coming from the living room. Amber had company. I recognize her friend, Lisa, by the way," she laughed. Amber had friends over all the time. I gave a quick wave as I passed by, muttering a tired, "Hey," before heading straight to our bedroom to change. As I pulled off my work shirt, I heard my name. At first, I didn't pay attention, but then Amber's voice became clearer. "Oh, trust me, Lisa, Bruce is completely helpless with the kids. The other day, I left him alone with them for a few hours, and when I got back, the house looked like a tornado hit it. Chase was running around with no pants on, and Mia had yogurt smeared all over her face. And Bruce? He looked like he had just survived a war zone." Lisa cackled. "Oh my God, that's hilarious." Amber wasn't done. "I swear, leaving him with them is like throwing a baby deer into the wild. He panics, gets overwhelmed, and then just lets the chaos happen." More laughter. I wasn't mad, but I wasn't amused either. This wasn't the first time Amber had joked about me like this. But hearing her laughing about it with her friend made it sting differently. I took a deep breath and finished changing, trying to shake it off. That night, after Lisa left and the kids were asleep, I brought it up. I didn't want to make a big deal out of it, so I kept my voice calm. "Hey, Amber, can I ask you something?" She was on the couch scrolling through her phone, not really looking up. "MHM." I hesitated, but then just said it. "Maybe ease up on the dad jokes?" She finally glanced at me, looking confused. "What?" "The way you joke about me with the kids. You know, the whole Bruce is clueless thing. It's starting to feel a little," I searched for the right word but settled on, "I don't know. Just maybe cool it a little." She smirked and shook her head. "Oh, come on, babe, you know it's just for laughs." I tried to read her expression. She wasn't being cruel. She wasn't trying to hurt me. But that was exactly the problem. She didn't even realize it was hurting me. I nodded, not wanting to push it. I was too drained to argue. "Yeah, never mind." I let it go, but the frustration stayed. We were supposed to have a Sunday brunch at Amber's parents' house one day. It was about family. Amber's parents always went all out for these brunches. Pancakes stacked high, eggs, bacon, fresh fruit. Everything seemed fine at first. The kids were playing, the adults were catching up, and for once I let myself relax, enjoying a cup of coffee. Then, like clockwork, Amber started in with her usual jokes. It began harmlessly enough. Something about how I could burn toast even with a toaster that had a bagel setting. Everyone chuckled. Fine, whatever. I laughed too. But then, as the conversation shifted to parenting, Amber saw the perfect opportunity to entertain the room at my expense. With a grin, she said, "Oh, you should have seen Bruce changing a diaper the other day. It was like watching a YouTube tutorial in real time. Confusion, panic, and a total mess everywhere." The moment the words left her mouth, the room erupted in laughter. Her dad smirked. Her mom covered her mouth, trying to hold back a giggle. I laughed too. But inside, something felt different this time. I wasn't some clueless idiot fumbling through fatherhood. I was doing my best. I worked my ass off to provide for this family, and sure, maybe I wasn't perfect at diaper changes. But did that really make me useless? Did it really make me some kind of joke? I kept my smile on, nodding along as if it didn't bother me. But the truth was, I was annoyed. Later that night, after we put the kids to bed, Amber stretched her arms, let out a dramatic sigh. "Hey, mind helping with bedtime tomorrow?" she said. Normally, I would have agreed, but I responded differently. "Why?" "So you can tell everyone how useless I am again." Amber blinked, caught completely off guard. For a second, she looked like she wanted to laugh, as if I was the one making a joke now. Then she tilted her head. "Bruce, come on, it's not that deep. It was just a joke." I felt my jaw tighten. Just a joke. That was always the excuse. Just a joke when she told her friends I couldn't handle the kids. Just a joke when she turned me into a walking meme for her family's entertainment. Just a joke every single time she chipped away at the one thing I was already insecure about, being a good dad. I didn't argue any further. I just grabbed my car keys and walked out. I didn't have a plan. I wasn't even sure where I was going. I just drove. I pulled into an empty parking lot and just sat there in silence, staring at my phone. When my phone buzzed, it wasn't a concerned text from Amber. "Are you really that sensitive?" She sent. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I responded with, staying at a hotel. Need space. Then I put my phone on silent and threw it onto the passenger seat. By morning, I still hadn't gone home. When I finally looked at my phone, there were more messages from Amber. But the tone was different now. Bruce, where are you? Okay, I get it. Can we talk? I'm sorry. I didn't see how my words hurt you. Please come home so we can talk. For the first time, it felt like she actually understood that something was wrong. But I wasn't ready to talk. So I did nothing. I let the silence stretch for days. One morning, while preparing for work while at the hotel, my phone rang. It wasn't Amber this time, it was her dad. That caught me off guard. Amber's parents weren't the kind of in-laws who got overly involved in our marriage. If they were calling now, it meant Amber had told them what happened. I debated letting it ring out, but something told me to answer. Bruce. Her father's voice was calm but firm. We heard you've been staying at a hotel. Can we talk? I exhaled. Yeah. He didn't waste time. He asked me straight up what happened. So I told him. I told him how Amber's jokes had been piling up for years, how they made me feel like I was nothing more than a walking punchline. I told him about the brunch, how I sat there while everyone laughed at my expense, pretending it didn't bother me. I told him how it wasn't just about that one moment. It was about all the little moments leading up to it, moments I had ignored until I finally couldn't anymore. There was a long pause on the other end of the line. Then he sighed. I get it, he said. I really do. I wasn't sure if I believed him at first, but then he continued. He told me that sometimes people don't realize the weight of their words until it's too late. He admitted that he had been guilty of it himself in the past, cracking jokes that seemed harmless but actually chipped away at something deeper. I don't think Amber meant to hurt you, he said, but that doesn't mean she didn't. That was the first time I felt like someone truly saw where I was coming from. Then her mom got on the phone. Her voice was softer, but there was concern there. Bruce, we know our daughter, and we know she loves you. She wouldn't have done this on purpose, but she needs to understand how this affected you. And she is starting to. She told me that Amber had been upset not just because I left, but because she was starting to realize that what she saw as harmless fun wasn't so harmless after all. She's been replaying things in her head, Bruce, and she knows she crossed a line. I didn't respond right away. A part of me wanted to stay firm, to hold my ground a little longer. But another part of me that was exhausted, that still loved my wife, felt like this was different. They weren't defending her. They weren't making excuses. They were actually acknowledging what I had been trying to say for years. Her dad spoke again. I'm not saying you should come home right now if you're not ready. But I do think you and Amber need to have a real conversation about this. And that can't happen if you're avoiding her. I sighed, leaning back against the headboard. He was right. I could stay at the hotel for another night, maybe even a week, but at some point we would have to talk. And if Amber was actually willing to listen, then maybe it was worth going back. All right, I finally said. I'll come home. But I'm not just going to pretend like everything's fine. We wouldn't expect you to, her mom said gently. Just talk to her. And with that, I made plans to go home after work that evening. When I finally got back home, I walked in and Amber just stood there, looking at me like she wasn't sure what to say. I wasn't sure either. The days that followed shows she stopped making jokes about me in front of people. No more little jabs when friends were over. No more playful insults disguised as humor. I noticed, but I didn't say anything. Then, one morning while I was at work, I got a text from her. It was just a simple message. Hope work isn't too stressful today. You work so hard for us, and I appreciate it. I must have read it 3 times. Not because it was anything elaborate, but because it was different. Amber wasn't the type to say things like that before. I wasn't used to it. Over the next few weeks, she kept making an effort. She started thanking me for the things she used to take for granted. She didn't say it in that sarcastic, exaggerated way like she was doing me a favor by acknowledging it. She actually meant it. That's what made the difference. I wasn't asking for constant praise, but I also didn't want to feel like everything I did was expected and unnoticed. But I'll be honest, just because Amber was trying didn't mean I immediately let my guard down. I wasn't angry anymore, but I also wasn't about to pretend that everything was magically fixed. We needed to talk. So one night after the kids were asleep, we sat down and had a real conversation, not about who was right or wrong, but about how we made each other feel. I told her how much it hurt to be treated like I was just some clueless extra in my own family. How those jokes, even if they seemed harmless, chipped away at me over time. She listened, and when she spoke, I could tell she wasn't just saying things to make me feel better. She told me she never meant to hurt me, that she genuinely thought it was all in good fun. But now, seeing how much it affected me, she understood why it wasn't just a joke. That conversation changed things. It wasn't about placing blame. It was about making sure we both saw each other clearly. We made a promise that night. No more careless words, no more dismissing each other's feelings. If something bothered us, we'd talk about it. If something needed to change, we'd work on it together. It's still early, and I'm not going to act like everything is perfect now. But for the first time in a long time, I feel like Amber actually sees me. Not just as the guy who brings home a paycheck or the dad who tries his best, but as a person who also needs to feel valued. And that gives me hope.